bang on 8 o'clock, 2000 hours GMT. Good evening. This is 8 till late live from youtube.com/Wi-Fi sheep with me, Tom. How are you doing? Great to be back. Wasn't here last week, so it's been a fortnight since we were together last, and I have to say, and I'm not just saying this, I have to say I generally was missing, rather, being here and talking to you this evening. So a little bit to catch up on, a few things to share with you. We got a little bit of feedback to talk about in relation to some of the latest videos that I've done. Raspberry Pi 5. Yeah, all right, we'll talk about it. I'm kind of pleased it's over and done with. What I will say is I managed to get myself a cup of tea. I'm more or less organised, and I'm here bang on time, which is quite good going, considering, if you're a regular, that sometimes I can be quite late, getting live on stream. So I'm pleased I'm here and on time. Anyway, how are you doing? Please do feel free to join in on the live chat. You do need to be a subscriber. Don't have to be a member or anything, just a subscriber to the channel. And if you do decide to subscribe for the first time, then first of all, thank you. That's great to have your company and support. But it will take 20 minutes of this live stream before you're able to put anything in the chat box. That just helps reduce spam and abuse and things I don't really want to be reading, as we work into the evening this evening. So, as with all previous editions, bar one, we will be focusing on the build of what I'm calling the retail version of Project Rio, which I still got down here actually. So let's see if the cameras are working, because normally I lose. Oh no, there we go. So might need to zoom out. So there is the prototype, and the prototype has been on a couple of journeys this week. It's been out and about and I say in use, that's not quite the right word. It's been used as a demonstration for something, and I'll come back to that very shortly. But before we continue, do you have a need for reliable and cost-effective web hosting for your blog, business or personal website? If so, then look no further than Cheap Host UK. Cheap Host UK's basic plan starts from only 58p per month. That's £6.99 a year. And if you're needing a little bit more, Cheap Host UK's premium packages start from £1.41 per month or £16.99 a year, complete with a free .co.uk domain. New customers can also take advantage of an extra 10% discount when purchasing any first-time hosting package or domain name from Cheap Host UK. Use discount code SHEEP, that's SHEEP, to get an extra 10% off. For reliable, cost-effective web hosting and domains, look no further than Cheap Host UK. Full details and an affiliate link are in the description to this video. So yes, discount code SHEEP, SHEEP, go to Cheap Host UK and you can get 10% off on any new web space or web domain. And again, a huge thank you to Cheap Host UK who support us here on 8 till late live on Wi-Fi sheep. I've just seen in the chat, we'll say very good evening to Andrew D, who has joined us. My first time from the start. Well, I'm normally late, so you've done very well to be here. I'm normally late starting, so yeah, but well done, and a very good evening. Great to have your company, Andrew. So where are we going to start? My week, or 2 weeks, because we weren't here last week, has been very, very busy, primarily with my employer, Harper Adams University, and I've been doing 9 till 6 days. And you might think, well, that's roughly an average working day. And you're right, it is. But you have to understand that my day would then start at like 5 in the morning, something like that. I have to go and get up, walk the dog, let the chickens out. We could fill the whole evening with chicken stories, but I won't bore you with that this evening. But let the chickens out, make sure they're fed, watered, etc., etc. Then I've got the commute, which is about 40 minutes drive to get there. So yeah, it's been taking its toll on me a little bit, I'll be honest with you. Still, it's great. I don't dislike what I do, but my goodness, it takes it out of you a bit. But basically, I've been doing everything from building and commissioning new things. Oh, excuse me. Shouldn't drink tea that quickly. Basically, I've been doing everything from commissioning new devices because we do a lot of in-house building at the university. So I've been sort of helping with teaching aids and building things like that. Also, dismantling and component recovery, which brings me on to something in a moment. But also, I've been teacher assisting. Yes, that's right, in lectures and things. And I've been doing a little bit of presentation work, in front of mainly second and fourth year undergraduate students, all in the engineering department. And you stand up there, and I'm not nervous about talking to people. Obviously, I'm live streaming with you. I've given talks. I've done in-person presentations. I've even done lecture theatre type stuff, with 70 odd students at the university. So I'm not nervous or anything. I think I'm just tired. So you stand up in front of this class in the labs, in the engineering tech labs, and I just like, yes, right, I'm going to talk to you about the Arduino. Now, I know about the Arduino. I tell you stuff about Arduino all the time. And you stand up there and then you go, I know nothing. Your mind just goes blank. And I'm just like, oh my God, right, I'm going to talk to you about the thing that does the stuff. And I'm looking over at my colleague who's the actual senior lecturer, and I'm like, help, what's the number for the, I forgot RS-232, which is the UART protocol serial. I just RS2, and the worst one, the other day, I forgot Atmega 328P. We go on and on and on about the Atmega 328P, which is a chip that's used in the Arduino Uno, Nano, that kind of, it's a 2K chip that we originally used for tiny basic computers, right? So I, of all people, should know that chip off by heart and the serial number. And I'm just seeing if I've got one lying around. And you know what? I have. Right. There you go. So that chip, yeah, I've got one literally lying around there. And I just totally forgot what it was. It was like, and the oh God, yeah. So I don't think I'm losing my mind. I think it's hard work and being quite tired is, well, I'm hoping it is anyway. But so that was that. Oh right, yes, right. Let me show you them. So as I said, I've been in the lab and I've been commissioning some project. I can't really show any of that at the moment because it's a bit, it's university property, so it's not mine to share. But basically, other lecturers and other department people and technicians have been coming in, and they've been having a bit of a clear out at the moment. And there was this big bin next to the workbench where I was doing the soldering, and a lecturer came along and just dumped a load of components and whole boards straight in this bin. And I was like, right, okay, you're not going to do component recovery? And apparently, no. So I basically went dumpster diving and I found that. And the lecturer said that, because these are all my senior colleagues, so I'm very junior at the uni. And he said I could help myself to whatever was in the bin. And I found that in the bin. And I'm like, you're kidding me. So that is it's another clone. It's quite a nice high-end clone of the Atmega Arduino Mega, 2560, which is the board that we use for Project Rio. So there's the ones that we normally use in the blue, which are the kind of the really cheap ones. These clones cost a little bit more money, are slightly nicer. So they've got things like the silk screens on the sides, printed, all the numbers and headers and what have you. Where mine, the cheap ones that I suggest we use, don't. Yeah, it was literally just chucked in the bin. So I was a bit like, are you kidding me? And there was a ton of relays in there as well. And I was a bit like, I didn't have time to desolder them all. It was on a very big custom PCB and I just didn't have time. What I would be interested to know is does that work? And I'm just having a look. All right, hang on. Right, one moment. I'm just going to sort of dive on the floor over here. I need to grab this power. That was actually for the camera that sits over there, the 5-volt USB. So we got that. And I'll just say good evening to Sean, my friend and colleague from the Salop Amateur Radio Society here in Shrewsbury. I say friend, I assume friend, but that might be pushing it. Good evening, Sean. How are you? Good to see you. Let's just put some power in. I've not powered this up to see if it works. It could be dead, which is why it went into bin, but it looks perfectly intact. So let's just see if it works. That looks absolutely fine to me. Reset. Yeah, it's fine. I think it's fine. Are you kidding me? Yeah. I mean, it might be there's something fundamentally wrong with it, but they just threw it in the bin. Wow. So that's been dumpster dive recovered. Sorry, just slurping tea. Right. But it gets worse. It gets worse. So, do you remember, now you have to be an avid channel fan for this, do you remember in the summer I did a video about Calypso the robot? I had one of the custom Atlas class robot buggies from work. These are Harper's own internal build programmable AI robot buggies, basically. They're an Arduino controlled device with some basic AI intelligence on a remote control chassis. We did a whole video and I tried to get chickens to pose with the robot, and the chickens were having none of it. You may remember that video, right? So I did some repair on Atlas. Had that Atlas robot, which was called Calypso, that was its name, which I hadn't given it. It was on there anyway. And I had that over the summer. We did some repair to the LCD screens. There was a short, and we had it running around my garden, and it was with me all summer. Then it went back into the teaching pool in the sort of for the beginning of the term, so late summer, early autumn. Well, roughly the same time that this board showed up, I found a box. And in the box, yep. I'm just going to zoom out, so just bear with me. I think that's in focus. Calypso. It was de-chassied along with, God, a good, I'm going to say 7 or 8 of them. So 7 or 8 of its classmates, if you like, had their chassis removed, and the boards, although they weren't chucked in the bin, to be fair, they'd all been chucked into a storage box. And in the, I say the lab, we have an engineer's workshop. Well, basically, where if we're not teaching, the workshop is different to the labs. So it's not, the workshop isn't a teaching space, basically, but it's a practical build space. And these are actually in the teaching workshop. Engineering building workshop. And I found Calypso, which has been decommissioned. So the chassis has been taken off. It's just a piece of acrylic, laser cut acrylic underneath. Still got its orange pip clone of the Mega board, so it's still the same Arduino Mega board. It's still got its board on. Yeah, it's been decommissioned. And I was like, right. So I literally asked, again, another senior, this was my colleague who designed them originally. I said, well, can I take that sort of back with me, sort of to keep it from being broken up or disposed of? And he was like, yeah. So this one is still technically university property. It hasn't been chucked out. They know I've got it, but it's here. So, oops. Don't worry, it's just a room falling apart. They know I've got it. So, yeah, basically. So what I'm hoping is, I've been told I can have another used chassis at some point to pop it back on wheels. We are doing some development work, so we want to switch from these 8-bit AVR boards. We want to switch to 32-bit chips. Things like, we're looking at the ESP32, basically, which would give a much more brains, if you like, for us to do stuff, and also have Wi-Fi connectivity. And this board, or this robot, we get it back together again, may actually be the guinea pig. So if it's now off the teaching pool, off lease, so to speak, then it means I can cut it up and cut traces and do all sorts of work to see about using it as a guinea pig or a prototype for 32-bit use. So, but fundamentally, just because I've spent all summer learning, you know, starting this new job, I had Calypso when it was together here. I literally sat on his desk. We did repair work to this display. That's actually my GPIO header. That's my own pin header, which I used. And then they scrapped it. It's like, right, okay. So, yeah. I'm just looking at what Andrew said. So, Andrew's, I wish my employer threw good stuff out like that. Yeah, it feels a bit off, in all honesty, but maybe I'm just used to. I have to be very clear though that I'm not stealing good stuff from the uni by any stretch of imagination. That was in the bin. I was told it was okay to take. This is very much the university's property. It's not been binned, but I just wanted to sort of. They know I've got it. They know we're going to use it for future development, so it's just here at the moment. But yeah. And Andrew's also saying, first rule of engineering: if no one saw me break it, chuck it in the bin. Yeah. But basically, I'm, you know, the stuff that's getting chucked out. It's just like, come on. Anyway, that's enough of that. Let's find out a home. That crash, by the way, was a piece of, I say set, a piece of boarding in the studio that sort of just blue tacked on an old Acorn sign that just fell down. Oh, see if I can grab it. One moment. There we go. That's what crashed. It just fell off the wall. That's the proper original Acorn piece. Just a piece of foam board that's gone very, very stiff. But yeah, that's actually an original piece of Acorn branded. It was on one of their stands at a trade show when the company was still running, and someone, the Midland User Group, picked those up actually, and they were going to go in a bin, and I sort of picked them up. So I've got one. It's on the set behind me, so that's one of them there, which has been there forever. So you look at all the old videos when I've been here, you've seen that, and this one actually lives on the wall over there, so it's not really seen on camera, and it's just fallen off, and that's what that noise was. Anyway, we'll say hello to Retro Bob. Greetings all. Hello, good evening, Bob. Thank you very much for joining us. Have you ever been on one of these live chats before? You probably have, and I've just forgotten. But we have the regulars, and then we have new people. But everyone is very welcome. I should also say welcome if you are watching this back. I know a lot of you actually watch this live stream back. So you're not live, but if you're not live at the moment, then hello, thank you, and hope you enjoy the rest of whatever happens tonight. If you are live right now, then obviously that's fantastic, and thanks for your company and for joining me. I got my tea, so I'm happy. Right. Actually, while we're talking about Riskress and mug shows and things, reminder as I do every week, it's getting closer and closer and closer. We're like 2 weeks away now, something like that. So the Mug RiskOS Xmas Market, which is a free computer event happening at Witchbold, which is kind of near, I can never pronounce this, Dwight I can't say Dwight-Rich, right, is beyond me, but South Birmingham on the M5, so central England. And it's a free show. It's happening on the 9th of December between 10:30 and 4. It's at the Parish Community Hall in Dwight-Rich. I'm going to be there along with a good few others. It's a small free show, so if you're more than perhaps an hour and a half away, it's probably not worth your time, but that's up to you. So anyway, yeah, so I'm there. I've actually seen where I am. I'm going to be in the second hall. It's trade support as well. It's all based around kind of an Acorn RiskOS type stuff. So yeah, so I'm going to be there, and it's going to be my final live show of 2023. So you can come down, have a chat. The Tiny Basic machine and everything we've been building is going to be there, along with a few other things that I've been doing here on the channel, or will be doing on the channel over Christmas. More information, it's mug.riskos.org. That's mug.riskos.org. Sorry, I got distracted with people in the chat. It's not your fault. It's my fault. So, Sean, need to have a clear out myself, but I hate chucking things away. I know. Have you seen this? That's only a little bit of it. It's like things everywhere. And this is why I can't find anything and why I need to have a sort out, which will never happen. But, you know. And Retro Bob, I've not made any live streams before, but have subbed since around early 2020. Ah, okay. I'm trying to remember, why do I know your Retro Bob? Why do I know that? Do you have a? Is it? I'll have to look up your. I'll have a look at your channel, because maybe I've been watching your stuff. Or do I know you from somewhere? I don't know. That you're just ringing a bell, basically. Anyway, great to have you. Thanks for joining us. And we'll also say good morning, good evening. Don't, hang on. I need to check my glasses. Good morning. What am I talking about? Good evening to Brian Martin. Good evening, Brian. How are you doing? Or morning. It could be morning if you're watching me. Who's that person that used to join us, or has joined us from New Zealand? It would be morning at this point. That's mad. If you're joining me from New Zealand live, that's like mad. But anyway, really appreciate your company this evening. So, this might be a good time just to have a quick look at our members. And there they are. These are all the YouTube channel members and Patreon backers. There they all are. So we have people like Brian, or do we have Brian on there? No, we don't. Sorry, apologies, Brian. Who am I thinking of? It's David. Davey, who's not here at the minute. But Brian has actually done quite a lot of stuff for me. We had a fun time a couple of weeks ago when we did the live BBS here. So, it is you, Andrew. Sorry, yeah, talking about 9. Yeah, so it is morning. You are New Zealand. I knew, yes. Yeah, there we go. I'm getting all confused now. Hang on. Sunday. Hang on, you can tell, right, when I do the videos, the pre-record, I'm normally like this all the time. And then you edit it into this beautifully said stream. But when you're live, you can't hide. So... Oh, right. There we are then. Patreon and YouTube channel members. Huge thank you to you all. You can contribute if you want to on Patreon from £1, $1. It's patreon.com/Wi-Fi sheep. Alternatively, there are the tiers if you would like to join here on YouTube, starting with base support at 99p, all the way up to mid support at £2.99. And those currency values are converted into your local currency where you happen to be in the world. If it can't convert the currency, it normally just defaults to US dollar. But there's the prices in British pound sterling. Right, there we go. So yeah, it was you, Andrew, in New Zealand. Yeah, that's mad. Thank you, by the way. I suppose 9:24 in the morning is not too bad for joining, but it's a Sunday. But still mad. Anyway, well, thank you for waking up in your Sunday with us here on 8 till 8. Right. Let's keep on track with what we're doing. So, Raspberry Pi 5. You may have seen the video. I did the review video. I know it took a long time. If you were a channel member or a Patreon backer, you had that for a good few days before it went live to the public. Basically, I'm not blaming the sponsor, but the sponsor was a bit slow on that one, and I couldn't release it until the sponsor had said yes. So that's why that one was a little bit slow getting going. I was about 2 weeks behind all the other YouTubers making their videos, which is fine. So yeah, I mean, it's all right. It's fine. If you want to go and get a Pi 5, by all means, go and get a Pi 5. There's nothing wrong with the Pi 5. Well, there is, but it's just my personal preference. It's fundamentally it's a fast machine. It is, you can tell just by using it, twice as fast as the 4. It booted its Raspberry Pi, Raspbian Linux, Debian OS in, oh god, it was like 2 seconds, and we were at the desktop from cold start. It was really, really impressive. The KiCad stuff was great. The web browsing experience worked really well, and I'm sure it is going to do a lot of stuff really, really, really well. My only kind of thing is that you have to invest so much in new infrastructure, new power supply. You may need the active cooling, which does not come included, and it still boots off an SD card, which in this day and age, I found really, really disappointing. I said that to you before, and I said it in the sort of the announcement video, and I said it in the review. Interestingly, I had a conversation with the senior technician, my colleague again at the university, who saw the Pi 5 review video. That's the last one I've just done here on the channel. And he fundamentally disagreed with me about the eMMC. He said that he preferred it with SD cards because it was easier to flash SD cards and swap them in and out. And I kind of see the point. Yeah, I get that. But at the same time, I'm more of the kind of school now that SD cards are slow, they're expensive, they break, they corrupt, you lose them. I much prefer it if I can have a single board device that I don't have to have an SD card permanently attached to it. I don't mind having one if that's the way of flashing it, but I want, if you can store your operating system without needing to worry about SD cards and that kind of stuff, then I much prefer that. So maybe there's this kind of real split, because what the senior technician said is actually echoed by a few people that commented and said to me something very similar to me. So, I mean, it's an odd one because I totally respect that viewpoint, and it's a fair viewpoint. Very interested if anyone in the chat wants to chime in what you think. By all means, you can disagree with me. I'm totally fine with that. It's not, I hope that when I have shown you the review, try to be as fair as possible. It's a little difficult when you've got sponsored devices and things, and I was comparing it to the X1 that is paid sponsored, but I do generally believe the X1, that PC single board computer that we've been reviewing, is a better value, and also does, because it's PC, it is an Intel chip, it does PC things better than the Pi will, which is my view. And also you don't need those blooming HDMI adapters. So, oh, hello. That's Matt Butler, who is my colleague and senior technician, who was having this discussion. Good evening, Matt. How are you doing? You're blowing your cover there. I was being very careful. All right, careful what I say now. Yeah. But yeah, no, we were having that discussion, and yeah, it's an interesting one, and I do see both points of view on it actually. But I said, for me personally, I think eMMC is. I'm just disappointed he didn't have that option, if you like, on the Pi 5. Right, speaking of Pi 5, I'm going to go and... Where's mine gone? I'm going to go and grab it, because... Did anyone see Explaining Computers? Christopher... Is it Burnett? Who did, for the very first time, did one of his build videos. And I've gone... Oh, here it is. Right. So, Raspberry Pi 5... And here's the one with the additional unit fitted. And he actually made a full keyboard computer. And to be fair, he did a very, very good job. It's all built out of plastic card, styrene card, modeler's card, that kind of stuff. And it looked brilliant and worked really, really well. I've got to be brutally honest with you. I was... I say annoyed. Obviously he can do what he wants, and he did it really well. So fair credit to him. I'm more annoyed I didn't get there first, because one of my Pi 5 projects is You may remember a long time ago, and I'm going back, 2018, if not a bit earlier than that, the Micro 1 kit system. And basically, it's a foam board, cardboard computer that you can download the plans for. You print on A4 paper. It's all on the Patreon, by the way. And it's still there now. And basically, you can then cut out and assemble with cardboard, foam board. You can assemble basically a wedge type computer. And yes, and Paul OB here, I watched Chris's video, the one where he built the case using Earthix type cement glue. Yeah, plastic cement, poly cement. I've got some of that here because I do model building as well. He did a really, really good job. My approach is a little more glue guns and PVA, but it works. So basically, there's no reason why we can't just retrofit Pi 5 into the case here. And yes, I gave that plan. Yeah, that's right. So the plans, if you were with me when we did the 500 subscriber special, God, that's going back a year. I actually gave the plans out free. So if you've still got your free PDF when I gave them out, it's this design basically. So one of the projects to do on the channel at some point as a standalone video will be to do a little bit of work on this and fit Pi 5. I just want to see if we can actually get that in there now, basically. I do need to rethink the lid a little bit. It just needs a new one cut and some way to have sort of through ventilation. Considering the age of this and the fact it's been on the shelf, it's actually faring very, very well considering it's effectively just cardboard. And a lot of people at the time said, oh, it's cardboard, it isn't going to last, blah, blah, blah. Well, this one, okay, it's beginning to look a little tatty. But this one, considering it's been on a shelf, moved around, gone out to a couple of shows, been shown on a few things, come back again, and it's actually holding together relatively well. So I'm just, where's the screwdriver's gone? I thought I was prepared tonight, and perhaps I'm not. I'll tell you what, I think I put all my good tools is in the toolbox, which I've been taking to work. In the boot, still in the boot of the car. But let's just see if we can get that off. Should go off, all right. Oh, that's good, isn't it? Right. I've gone and put the damn thing underneath a. Oh, and I've glued them in as well. Why have I glued them in? That was a stupid thing to do. You know, when you do something at the time and you think, wow, I'm really clever. And then, you know, how many years later you think, I'm an idiot, I shouldn't have done that. Right, I've glued those in. So I'm not going to dig around too long. We can get those out. It's only hot melt and, you know, we can get the screws out. Basically, it's bolts that just hold it on, and then there's two nuts either side to lift it, so it's off the floor. Now, fundamentally, things haven't actually changed. So the ports have changed, but the way the USBs are is exactly the same as this. This is the Raspberry Pi 2, 2014 Pi 2 in there. Obviously, the ports have changed, but the design just has a big wide open space. There we go. So that should, you know, fit relatively well. Obviously, you're still going to need the adapters. Now, I noticed Chris's design. He obviously had a bit more space on the back, so he actually had the adapters kind of inbuilt into the case, which solves that problem. So he did a really, really good job, actually. Mine, as I said, is a little more crude, but I think, you know, they both have their place. So that's something we will be looking at, because it just makes sense for me that, you know, we'll mount Pi 5 inside a keyboard wedge, and then it might be a little more usable. Depends what you want to do with it, but that's kind of one project I've got planned. So the Micro 1.5 it's on its own tier. I can't remember offhand which tier it is. It's been so long. If you search on patreon.com/Wi-Fi sheep, the PDF plans are there. You can download, print out, stick onto a foam board and mount board, which is a cardboard. And then it goes together with PVA glue, spray mount. You want to spray the, you see the paper on the inside with the cutouts. There is actually a video. If you search Micro 1.5, there is a whole video on YouTube shot some time ago here on the channel of me actually building this particular unit. So this could well be 6 or 7 years old now, thinking about it. Gosh, is it that long? Anyway, yep, so that's something we'll be doing at some point. So I'll need to find somewhere to hide that for a moment. Pi 5 itself, as well as that project, I want to see if we can get RISC-OS running on it. Now, RISC-OS cannot run natively on the Pi 5. Pi 5 is 64-bit. There is a 32-bit Linux operating systems that do run, but RISC-OS is doing something. It's requesting something in the stack manager. It's requesting instructions from the processor which are illegal in a 64-bit only environment, or something like that, which basically means RISC-OS cannot run natively without major work to the operating system, which simply isn't going to happen. So, like we've done with previous processors, I think we did it last with the Mango Pi, the RISC-V or RISC-V chipset, where we compiled RPC EMU. And that was an emulator that emulates the Acorn RISC PC, and then you're able to run RISC-OS in an emulated space, basically on top of a Linux core operating system behind. So that's probably the road I'm going to take, and that's another thing we'll do. It's quite a simple thing to do. We should be able to compile the source. This thing should be fast enough now that we can compile actually on the board itself. So that's project number 2. Project number 3, I'm waiting for RetroPie to get updated, because my gut feeling is, for me, I think Pi 5 for me is going to be very much a RetroPie games type device. I want to see how well Nintendo 64 runs. I also want to see if PlayStation 2 and the Dolphin emulator for GameCube and possibly even Nintendo Wii might run on this board. So we'll see. Just have a quick look in the chat. So Matt, this is my colleague from work, on used Arduino, etc. Even one blown IO port sends them to the bin. Yeah, I mean, I've only just I don't know how long you've been on the stream, Matt, but I powered it up just to. I mean, it seemed all right, but that doesn't mean it is. But yeah, I mean, I did ask, and I was told it was okay to take it. So if it's not, I'll bring it back. By all means, it's not a problem. But at least you know where it's gone. But yeah, I was like, wow, okay. And all the relays that went in the bin as well. Oh, if I'd had time, I would have desoldered those relays, because I only got a couple of relays and I do use them. But oh well, never mind. It's one of those things, and I don't have time. Anyway, yeah. So that's Pi 5 and what we'll be doing with that. Still keeping the boxes. Oh, someone on the chat actually asked me about how do the boxes, I don't know where it's gone now, boxes, cases, the official case. And I had it out earlier and it's gone. So I had the official Raspberry Pi case for the 2 and 3. And the 5 did fit. But the power button is obscured on the back. So I said if you drilled a little hole, or if you're willing to modify your case, it would work. Now, the only proviso with that is, if you're running with the fan unit, it doesn't fit. And I forgot to mention that in the video. So if you're running without, it does fit. If you're running with, it doesn't. But if you're willing to modify your case, cut bits of plastic out, etc., etc., then it does actually work okay. So yeah, you can retrofit these sort of into Pi 2 and 3 cases. It does kind of work if you're willing to do a little bit of modification. So right, that's Raspberry Pi 5 for now, but lots of projects coming up here on the channel. What next? I can't think what next, so we may just go straight on to the main build for Project Rio. And now, where we left off 2 weeks ago, the machine turned into a basket case that night, and things just stopped working. And to be honest with you, things have still not been 100% brilliant since. I've got the unit down here. So this is the unit in question. Where's the camera? Let's get the right camera. There we are. So you've seen me build this over the past few weeks. And it's been all right, but last time we lost the SD card, stopped working. Do you remember? And we fault finded the whole thing and spent hours. What we were trying to do was fit the DB9 socket for the Atari type joysticks, and I just got it wired in. Then we tried to run some code. It's getting quite late in the evening, and it kind of wasn't working, and I kind of like left it there. And then obviously I wasn't online last week. Now I need to correct myself on a few things because I basically wired it up wrong this side. So let's find another mega board. So basically on the mega board you've got digital pins along this side, and basically me being me thought it went 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. It doesn't. It gets up to 13, then it goes ground, and then you have a series of serial connectors here. And I was actually trying to plug, thinking they were digital pins, plug into serial connectors, and that's why we weren't getting anything to work. Also, and I knew this, and I don't know why I did it, but I just did. You know, we all make mistakes. I was trying to use D13. Now, whatever you do, don't use D13. D13 is tied to the LED, so it's a special function. If you try and pull it to ground or pull it high, it will constantly reset with the bootloader that's loaded on your Arduino chip, basically. Basically, when you power up, I'll just show you. So when you power up, you see, you get, I forget which one it is. I think it is the green on this one. So the green LED is tied to D13. And so basically it has a special feature. This one's being told to flash, but you can't use that pin as far as I'm aware for anything else. And I was trying to, hence why we're having problems. Anyway, so I changed the pin out and messed around with it, including earlier today. I messed around with some code, and I've actually got a few things working with the Atari joysticks. So just having a look in chat again, where are we? So Andrew's just saying the official Pi 5 case has a removable fan built in. Does it? Seriously, does it have it built in? Okay, that's interesting. I did not know that. Do you know what? I honestly haven't looked. That's very interesting. So that's the official one. Which, yeah, if you haven't got a case, I'll just buy the official one. It's just if you've got Pi 2 free cases and things lying around, you can make them fit. It does sort of work. Max just saying no problem. Just saying why they're probably there. Okay, just as long as we're clear, I'm not stealing assets from work. I've got a few other bits from work actually, but they're on loan for me to be doing stuff working from home, and they will go back, including the Atlas board. Will no doubt, unless I can adopt it, but no doubt it'll go back. Anyway, yeah. And then Matt's also asking, does anyone know if the Pi Hut Pi 5 starter kit comes with a fan? Ooh, good question. Very good question. Hang on, I'm going to answer it. Watch me as I answer it. Let's have a look. Pi Hut, what's the site? Pi Hut. Just talk amongst yourselves a moment. Pi Hut, Pi 5 kit. Hang on, bear with me. I'll tell you. No, but the case it comes with does have the fan built in. Andrew was quite right. So yes and no. If you're running it with the official, I'll hang on. I'll just dump this in the chat so you can see. Okay. Yeah. So that's the product. We're not sponsored by Pi Hut, by the way. I just end up buying things from them all the time. But yeah. So I guess if you're okay using the Hang on, I've lost my place now. Yeah. So if you're happy using the official case, then you don't need the cooling. Actually, depends what you're doing. If you're clocking it up to, it can get up to 3.0 gigahertz. So if you are going really high end speed on it, then yeah, you're going to need the cooling. It doesn't. I don't actually know what is the sort of threshold for it to not need the cooling. But anyway, there you go. That answers that question. So I take it we might be getting Pi 5 at work. Pi 5 at work then. I'm assuming. We'll try and not let the students nick them. That would, yeah. Anyway, right. Where are we? Let's do this. So, talking of work. So this unit actually went into work. This is a university. Literally the other day. So I took a couple of pictures actually very quickly. Let's have a look. Oh, that was that was Pi 5 we were talking about. That's the video thumbnail for the current video that's on the channel. So let's just take that off a moment. So yeah, so here it is on. This is in the lab. There's this sort of machine. It's a bit like a. Do you remember overhead projectors? You put your acetate on. Well, it's kind of like that, but it's digital. So basically, it's a camera that hangs over the desk, a bit like what I've got here, really, just a little more sophisticated. And I put the unit there with a joystick. So when I'm explaining to the students, they can actually see on the display, the video projector in basically the lab. They can see what I'm talking about. And basically we were doing this was 4th year, final year students, and they're developing things using microcontrollers, and they need some human interfaces. So basically things like robotic arms and farming equipment, stuff like that. And so I was talking about the idea that you can actually couple a Raspberry Pi to an Arduino and vice versa. If you wanted to. And it was just to kind of give an example of a real world engineering project that wasn't tied to the university. So the Project Rio system went in, and I think the last picture, yes, here it is. This is again in the same lab. Now this is from our HarperNet computer event, which I run, and that will be open to the public in the new year, by the way. So this is actually at the campus. And I actually had the unit running, so I plugged it via HDMI into one of the Dell. We have these series of Dell PCs and monitors, and basically you can plug things into them. I don't know if we're meant to, but Matt can tell me that. I don't think we're meant to, but yeah. So Matt's asking, are you bashing that on the picture? Bashing? What do you mean bashing? I'm not quite sure. I'm not following there. Do you want to explain that again? Sorry, Matt. I'm not following. Yeah. Anyway, yeah. So the unit's kind of been on show as well, just as an example of for students to look at, really, as an engineering project, as as sort of things you could do with an Arduino, with a Raspberry Pi, if you wanted to, if it's relevant to what you're doing, because they have access to all sorts of microcontrollers, including kind of high-end stuff. So it's not all about Arduinos and Pis. They do have, some really nice high-end stuff they can play with. So it just depends what the students have elected to do. But it's just sort of giving ideas, really. But yeah, anyway, so that was that. So it's been into work. Wasn't powered up the last time. So it wasn't working. Well, it wasn't powered up. It was just shown as a static unit, really. Yeah. Anyway, so we are going to power up. We are going to power up now. So Atari joystick, which I have down here. So hopefully this might work. Let's see. So that goes in there. Power, we're going on a Raspberry Pi 2 power supply, which I might regret doing. So we've been having, as you probably know, we've been having some power issues with these units of late. And I need to get some hot melt glue just to fix a few things in place. So power is in, there we go. And I might just swivel the unit around, find the HDMI lead. If I can, where's it gone? There we go. Okay, so that's now to the video supplies. So we need to put a keyboard in. Basically, I'm getting a bit fed up with the mini keyboard or the micro keyboard I've been using. So I've got this new old stock board that I've kind of bought a little while ago, actually. And I've just decided, well, we'll use it now. It was for resale, but we'll use it. So, right. That should all be in. So let's cut to video capture. Let's see if this works. Bet you the SD card fails because it's been a bit on and off. Oh, no, it's fine. It's red. Brilliant. Okay, so we were trying to get up to getting the joystick to read. And I want to try and load in, see if I can get something to load in. So if I go, oops, it's numlocking again. That's the issue. When these boot up, this set numlock, and then I don't realise I'm typing it. Anyway, doesn't matter. Right. Load, and can I remember the program name, or do I need to go and grab my notes? No, I think I can remember the program. So we're going load, and it was joy test.bas. So this is a BAS file, which is ASCII encoded text file, basically. So the basic on this isn't tokenized. So it reads it all physically line by line, letter by letter. Oh, hang on. I know why. Joy test 1.bas. Right, why is that not working? I knew it was going to play silly buggers tonight. Joy test 1.bas. Okay, there's the other one load. Okay, hang on. Load demo.bas. Right, it is a file name error, basically. So that works, and we can list, yeah, so we can list demo.bas, no problem. Why is that not working? That was working earlier on. Hang on a minute. In times like this, let's just refer to the book, and I'll tell you exactly what the file was meant to be called. It is Joy Test 1. Let's try that one more time. No. How annoying. Okay. Well, that was the first test, which isn't working. And I could mess around with that, but let's see if the second one. So I have a slightly more impressive one. So the first one, which I will get working shortly, if we can, basically just took the joystick, read the command, so it just printed up, down, left, right, fire, etc. And it just printed it to the screen, basically. Okay, so yeah, so that was that. Now let's go back to, there we go. Now I will obviously want the joystick to do more than that. I want it to be able to control things on the screen. So this was the second test, and this worked today. Let's see if it'll load. So this is Joy Cursor, or joycur1.bas. That has worked. So let's just list the code so I can show you what's going on. Okay, so this is all written in Tiny Basic, or Rio Basic, as we're now improving the basic interpreter. Bearing in mind, this is all running straight from the Arduino. So the Arduino is driving the whole system. The Raspberry Pi, as you probably know by now, especially regulars, the Raspberry Pi is running in bare metal mode. There's no Linux operating system on it. And it is literally just interpreting through the UART serial and outputting on the screen. So we're using it as a GPU or dumb terminal, and we're also using it to drive USB, so we can actually use USB keyboards. That's the whole purpose of having the Pi on the system. Hence why I have an original Raspberry Pi. We don't need a particularly powerful Pi. We're not using it for anything other than just the HDMI or composite video out. Also means we can have color on screen. Right, so this is the source code, and you can see basically that we start probably around line 50 with D write. So 10, 9, 8, 12, 11 are up, down, left, right, fire. Not necessarily in that order. You can actually see I've remmed them out. So fire, up, down, left, right is the order. And basically we pull all those pins. These are digital pins. So 10, 9, 8, 12, 11 are pulled to 1, which means on, which means high. Digital pins, 0 is ground or off, 1 is on, 5 volts high. We pull them all high, okay? Now, what we basically do is when I push something or push a button on the joystick itself, so if I go up, fire, when I press that down or make that joystick move, that makes a connection and it grounds that pin. So that's how it identifies what has been pressed. It's a very simple logic that was done back in the Atari days for the 2600 back in the 70s. And that's why I'm using this standard as opposed to anything else, because it's very easy for us to intercept with an Arduino and being able to drive. So let's just go back. There we go. So basically it's identifying. So if D read 10, so if pin 10, so it's F, sorry, equals D read. So we're creating, so F for fire. So if F equals 0 as opposed to 1, then it's going to print the word fire. U, which is up, if that equals 0, so if the up on a joystick has been grounded, then the y-axis, y will equal y minus q. Q is the speed at which whatever we're moving moves. So you can see on line 5 at the top of the screen, q equals 10. So 10 is the amount of pixels the object's going to move each time we press, and so on and so on. We then have the draw routine for the cursor, which starts at 250, or sorry, 300, beg your pardon, and rolls through till we return at 330. So we call a go sub statement. We don't have what's the word, procs, well, BBC Basic, procedures, that's it. We don't have procedural statements in this version of Basic, so we have to go sub to basically loop back within the loop to where we need to go. You can only loop so many times around, so it's go to or go sub basically. So that's basically how we formulate the code. So let's try running that and see if it works. It should work okay. Okay, so you've seen the cursor before, because I've shown you the cursor a few times using the keyboard. This one's now using the joystick. So basically the flickering is because it's rewriting each frame cycle. It's rewriting joystick cursor test, and it has to do this because when I move the cursor, which I'm now doing with the joystick, it's quite fast, quite fluid, we need to clear the screen and redraw again. If we didn't, what would happen is you'd get a sort of a snake of cursors. Basically, it would sort of be like a paintbrush at that point, painting cursors all over the screen wherever we go. You might want that effect, in which case you wouldn't clear the screen. I'm clearing the screen each frame. We go around, and that basically allows us to have a cursor that we control the joystick on the screen. Now, slight glitch at the moment. If we run off this side, it doesn't like it, and we start getting printed vector statements. This, by the way, it's drawing as if it was a live vector. So the triangles, we're actually using the triangle command in Basic, which I put in there to draw this shape on the screen. And again, so it doesn't like going off the top or off the left. If we go right, it sort of, you can see it here, it kind of sticks to the opposite side, and the bottom just disappears, but it doesn't draw an error on the screen. But we can, it's a bit flickery, but we can sort of scroll over the top of the text, and we can even do multiple statements at once. We can pull, you know, up and left, up and right at the same time, down, draw circles, and it can cope with it just about. There's a little bit of lag if there's too many statements going through, but it does clear quite quick. And yeah, so that's the basics of how we've got this working, or why I wanted joystick commands. One, for games, obviously, but also in absence of a working mouse at the moment, and I am looking at how we can do a PS2 mouse protocol. I want to be able to build an interface, basically, so it's not just text-based 8-bit. We can actually have, we can click and point. By the way, if I press fire, see, it prints fire to the screen at the moment. But for example, I could have icons or colored boxes or things on the screen I could move over to, and then I could select and click. like so. Now we can escape. Now let's list the program back again. If we decide that the cursor's running a little bit too fast, we could change the Q statement. So we just go 5 Q equals, and let's say 1. Try that. So we'll run the program again. And you see how now it's running 1 pixel per cycle. A bit more laggy, but you can see it's much, much slower. So 10 might be too fast. It's also a little bit buggy. Everything with the system is a little bit buggy, to be honest with you. So we could go 5Q equals, let's try 5, which might be a better compromise. Let's see how well that works. Yeah, that's better. That's not too bad. So this basically is the beginnings, hopefully, of a system. I'm planning now, I want to build like a graphical user interface called Rio OS that kind of runs on this show. I know a few of the engineering students back at the uni are potentially interested. They haven't seen this demoed actually, but they've seen the build and they've seen what might be happening, and they're sort of very interested if this might be able to be used in a project, which I'm very open to that as an idea. If you are interested and want to follow along, I have been working today on the home build version. So the Project Rio video series, there's 2 videos on there at the moment from memory. This is video 3, so you can build this at home along. And we're roughly getting up to this phase now. So we're going to add sound and SD card support to your home build. And from that, we're then going to episode 4. We're going to be looking at adding the Atari joystick using one of these off-the-shelf DB9 type plugs that we've used before. If you remember, I think I put them away now, but if you remember a few weeks ago, I bought some of these and they were the wrong way around. So you need them with male pins and I bought them with female. And I was like, that doesn't work. So I bought 2 of these. Basically, it means that you don't need to solder them. You can just put your wires into these screw fixings, as we have done actually in ours, which is just here. And just so you can clamp it into a case, or you can just stick it on the board, as we've been building on the table, basically, in the series. That's the next video, which is coming very soon here on the channel. Probably in the next few days, actually. We'll then be taking a break from Tiny Basic Computers over Christmas, because I've got the channel's Christmas content, which I'm planning to do, and I'm going to try and do the stuff that I didn't do last year, that I want to do this year. And already it's looking like, oh no, there's other things on the way. Speaking of which, we do have another single board computer to review. There's one in the post. It might be with me this week. From our friends at Banana Pi. If you remember, I did a review of, it's actually up there, the Pi Zero Plus, what was it called? Pi Zero Plus or something. And it was, again, another little ARM-based clone board, but it had eMMC storage on board. I remember taking that one into work when I first started, actually, because I know Matt's still on the call, or I say the call, if Matt's still watching, he remembers that, because I showed him that board. But basically, we're going to have another Banana Pi type product on the way. Be very interesting to see how that one kind of stacks up, especially in the kind of space we're in now. We might have something else from Yuyi too. They're the ones who sent me the PC X1 board. They do an ARM board, a similar spec up, but it's ARM, so it's kind of more in line with Raspberry Pi. That might be on the way. I don't know at the moment. We'll see. If we do the review of that, it will be in the new year now, because obviously everything's stacking up for Christmas. So Tiny Basic Computers is in the pre-record series, the home build series. We'll be back with episode 4 in the new year. We'll be carrying on here with, well, we're kind of at a place now with Project Rio where we might leave it for a little bit, basically because I have to spend this time to get stuff ready for the Risk OS show, which is on December 9th, which I've just been talking about earlier. There's the poster again, in case you don't know what I'm talking about. So I'm going to be exhibiting as Wi-Fi Sheep on December 9th at Witchbold. It's a free show in South Central Birmingham on the M5. So it'd be great to see if you do want to come along. It's a very small event. It's not a huge computer show, so it's probably not worth traveling to if you're too far away. But basically, I do need to get my content ready for that event. So that's kind of probably what we're going to be doing next week. Also, before I forget, next week, actually, no, tell a lie, we can't do that next week because of what I'm about to tell you now. So I am going to go see my parents next week, which is probably the first time I managed to do that basically before Christmas. So I will be there on December the 2nd, which is a Saturday. I'll still be up there. Now, my thinking is, instead of cancelling the stream again, because I'm going to take some stuff up to work on, we could basically just stream from there. There's no reason why that wouldn't work. Obviously, if you can put up with the fact it will be on the laptop camera, so that the sound might be a bit off, the lighting may be a bit off, I won't have all my stuff, but I will be taking the Project Rio box with me, and I'm really hoping to just spend a little bit of time basically working on some code and a bit of software and some programs to start kind of building something to get Project Rio as a computer actually doing something useful other than the hardware build. So that's kind of the plan. It does mean, for the benefit of Matt, I will be in work on Monday, but I'm not going to be in work the rest of the week. But yeah, so that's kind of what we're going to be doing next week. Afterwards, probably be back to normal service with 8 till late. And then, depending on where Christmas and New Year falls, we may not be doing 8 till late on the Saturdays, but we will be doing I'll be here live for Christmas Eve, and we're running right up to midnight on Christmas Eve into Christmas Day. That's GMT time here in the UK. And then, as is now tradition, and I've done this the past few years, I'll be here to call in New Year if you want to join me. So that'll be Wi-Fi Sheep New Year special live. I'll be here New Year's Eve right up to midnight and New Year's Day for 2024. That is the plan. Do keep across social media, X and Facebook, and the little chat box thing that I post on YouTube itself that you occasionally see come up in your feed. So if you haven't subscribed, by the way, do make sure you have subscribed to the channel, because otherwise you won't see that basically when I post it. I think I need another cup of tea. We may just take a short tea break, and then I'll decide what we're going to do for... We're running a bit early, but maybe we need to have another look at this code. Or I could try breaking the machine again by prodding it. I don't know. But do you know what we could do with doing? As we got a moment, we need to see why that other program doesn't work. That's going to annoy me otherwise. So I'm going to make another cup of tea. We'll have a tea break, and I'll be right back, and we'll try and figure out why joytest1.bast won't load. So cup of tea time. I'll be back very, very shortly. we're back. Hi everybody. Anyone still with me? I think so. How you doing? New cup of tea, so we'll be all right for a little bit. Yes, there's a couple of things we can work on. We need to look at this evening. So yeah, we'll put that there. I'm just actually noticing. Have I misspelled test, or is that no? Yeah. If you leave this to kind of just run, it just loops, kind of like that. Occasionally freak out and do kind of a weird thing, like bear in mind that triangle cursor is being drawn each time, and it kind of it can draw a point of the triangle and go like off screen, so it kind of half it's on there, and then it kind of one of the lines just goes mad off the screen, or this piece of text here jumps to the wrong place. And I don't know if it's just a voltage issue, if it's just a problem with the kind of the interpreter I've basically compiled, if it's a problem with PyGFX, the terminal we're using, or if it's just noise on the UART, the serial line. It's possible. I do think we're getting to the point now where I think I may need to build a new prototype. You know, we've been talking about building a new second prototype. And I kind of feel that maybe we're getting into that space, possibly. Certainly it was on the plan, because I want to use, instead of being as it is now, if I just show you, that's the wrong camera, there we go. Instead of being as it is now, I want to have it on a single board, and I want to use Raspberry Pi Zero basically as the not the interpreter, as the terminal. Instead of the original Pis that we're using, because these things, as we found out, do seem to have some voltage drop issues that are causing us that problems, and they seem to crash randomly. And yeah, I just want to kind of sort of shore things up a bit more, and if where possible, use, if we can, more modern parts. Speaking of which, I was having a rummage around the other day, and I need to sort of got nowhere to put anything. Hang on. Just make a bit of space. Make a bit of space. Something like that. That'll do. Anyway, right. Having a rummage around the other day, and Raspberry Pi Zero, Raspberry Pi Zero, Raspberry Pi Zero, Raspberry Pi Pico. And I'm like, I swear to God, you know, I ordered these things, and that one's actually a 02. 02, 01, 01, Pico. All still sealed. So I knew I had stock of stuff, and I knew I'd bought stuff, and I couldn't find it. And then the other day I just kept finding bag after bag of board that I bought. And it's like, right, well, I know where that is now. So definitely going to be useful for as we continue with the development. One other thing I want to show you is this, which is entitled Kim 1 Bits. Basically, I was sent from a fan of the channel, who I've forgotten the name of, which is terrible. I was actually sent a set of blank PCBs for the Kim Uno project, which is basically you could build a compatible clone using the Arduino standard of the Kim 1, which was one of the very first computer systems. It actually predates Commodore. Basically, it was done by MOS Technologies originally to show off the 6502 when it was new, and it was very quickly bought by Commodore. So MOS was bought by Commodore for use with the VIC-20, or the PET VIC-20, and then Commodore 64. So the latter one of these, the original Kim 1s, or Kim-1, actually was branded Commodore, and it was technically Commodore's first computer because it was earlier than the Commodore PET. This is a way of creating a compatible version. Instead of being a big board, you just get it like a small calculator now, and you have to put a punch pad for the numbers, and it uses number display, what's digit display, LED digit display. So it looks like a calculator, and you actually punch in hex values in 6502 assembler code, or machine language, I should say. Basically, the 6502 isn't real, it's emulated, and it uses, I can find it because I have bought the chip to do it. There we go. It uses a Arduino Pro Mini, which is one of these, which is still in its sealed. Or I did open it, I think. Basically, it's a bit like an Uno. It's the same chip. It's the Atmega 328P, but without the serial chip. So there's no USB interface. So you do need to have a programmer to program and flash it. But basically, I am looking forward to building one of these. I've got all the bits in this little box I've been collecting for some while, and including the switches. So I've actually now got the switches for it. So I'm hoping to get that built, basically, as a project. Now, he actually sent me, and I'm kicking myself, I can't remember who it is, and I'm so sorry. If you're in the chat, do pipe up. Or if you're not and you see this, drop a comment in the comments of the video, and I'll correct the record next time. He sent me 2 boards, which is really, really great. So I'm thinking I might build the first one as intended, but the second one, I'm thinking, could I actually use something like the Mega board, if it works properly, the one I've found from work, and could actually use that to build a slightly larger version of the Kim 1 system. Because if you add more RAM to it, then it is capable of doing some Apple One execution, including running the Wasmon image monitor for the Apple One, and it can run a couple of Apple One software programs if it's got enough RAM. So it does do a lot more than the original Kim 1, and it's something I'm really looking forward to trying to do. Because I would love to have a kind of one of these early computer type systems from the 1976, 75, 76. One of the very first early domestic machines you could actually get hold of. So yeah, that's a plan. A project I'm really looking forward to doing. You can also get a 3D print case. So I plan to 3D print a case for it as well. And I've got this little box here of bits, which I've been collecting, ready to make the Kim 1 project. So that'll be something we will be doing on the channel. Kind of, I suppose, in the break when we're not doing Tiny Basic Project Rio. So that's kind of the thinking. So I just wanted to share that with you. Cup of tea time. Right, now let's find out why this file wasn't working, because this is driving me up the wall. So we'll power off the system, we'll take out the SD card, and I need some adjustments are needed in this prototype, put it that way. Right. SD card out. Now, the only snag is because I'm on a Mac. By the way, I'm still on a Mac, and we'll come to that shortly. Because you know, I said I was going to switch the streaming over to the X1 PC board. Haven't done it yet, which is annoying, and I should have done it. So it's me in fault. Right, now then, just bear with me a moment. Story of my streamless. Just bear with me. Okay. Right, there isn't a... Okay, right. So it's actually called joy.bas, not joy test 1. I don't know where I got joy test 1 from. But basically, I put the SD card here into the Mac. And I'm just going to share this screen with you, so hopefully you can see this. Now, when you open a file, it's basically a text file. So you could open this file in Notepad or WordPad or LeafPad or whatever you've got on Linux, Mac, Windows. Doesn't really matter. I actually have here what's called a Genie IDE, not to be confused with the Genie Pick microcontrollers, which have a similar IDE thing, also called Genie. Genie IDE is freeware generic IDE available that covers a lot of programming languages, and I think can do some compiling if I remember correctly, but I'm not sure on that. You can get it on the Raspberry Pi. I'm running it here on the Mac. It also runs on Windows, and it also supports BASIC. So here I've actually opened up joy.bas, and here is actually the BASIC file, and it shows you basically the code. So we could write code for our Tiny Basic Project Rio system off the system itself using a more modern IDE editor. As long as it's basic and it's valid commands, we can save it to SD card and then we can load it up on the machine. So here is the original detection file. And again, it just shows you, probably more simple here, but we're just pulling the pins to basically, I say to ground, we're pulling them up to 5 volts. So all 5 pins are pulled up. Then we read the pins, and if they're pulled down, we then, in this case, we just print. So fire, up, down, left, right. I have put a delay line in because otherwise you get a bit of lag. So it just gives it a minute to reset. And then there is the loop in basic. So we just go to 50 and then we pull everything back down again. So we pull everything up rather, and then we carry on. Now it is possible that we could do a circuit change. So instead of having to do this in code, we could pull everything up using pull-up resistors on the actual socket itself. So we're saving a few lines of code. We don't have to keep rewriting this every time. And then basically we just can detect if a pin is pulled to ground rather than having to manually pull everything up in code. But for now, this is how it works. So I'm going to close the file. I'm not going to save. Okay, and let's go back to the machine itself. So let's just eject the SD card. Surprised that worked as well as it did, because normally when you've got so much stuff on the USB bus on the Mac, it kind of struggles. So right, let's try and get this SD card back in. There we go. Okay. Power up. Bet you it has an SD card error. Yeah, what did I say? It's been glitchy like that. Really, really glitchy. So we'll power off. It could be a bad solder joint still. Okay, let's try that one more time. Yeah, might be getting the soldering iron out in a minute, because this problem haunted us last week, no, 2 weeks ago. And it's something to do I mean, the soldering is not great on this, I'll be brutally honest with you. Let's try one more time. Nope. History repeating itself. We did this 2 weeks ago. Tempted to get the soldering iron out, so I'm going to have to reflow here. Make sure that's making a connection. And now it makes a connection. Yeah, it's here. It's still dodgy. I'm going to have to reflow it, clean up everything. Maybe even have to use new wire to actually change that. I do need that more reliable, especially if this machine's traveling with me next week. I won't have the tools to make changes. Anyway, right. There we go. Okay. So if I now load, numlock back on again, load joy.bas list, and there is the code. So that's the file we were looking at in Genie IDE just on the Mac a few moments ago. We've now got the file there, so we should now be able to run this. This is what I wanted to show you before. Okay, so that's now running. No clear screen command, but the joystick is now initialized effectively. So if I now go up, down, left, right, fire, you can see it is reading it. There's a slight lag because of that delay. but you can see it actually reads the joystick. And that's the most sort of basic joystick driver you can write in BASIC for the Project Rio system. I'm tempted. Do you know what? While we're here, I don't know if there's anything else. Do we have anything else we need to do tonight? I'll talk about. I'm very tempted, fire at the soldering iron, and actually sort of just try and get this SD card module working again better, because we've been having issues with that. Yeah, so we might just do that. Basically, yeah, because it's a bit of a mess, basically. If I'm being honest, it's a bit of a mess. I think all the tools are here, actually. Yes. I did take all my own solder and stuff into work at one point, and then all the solder appeared at work and I didn't need to, which was great. I will say work have much nicer soldering irons than I do. They're really these great soldering irons. It seems to just work even without flux. And in my world, you could never solder anything, especially electronics, without flux. As you know, we use flux a lot here. And I just come to the conclusion, obviously, that the university has better equipment than I have at home, which is fair enough. That's why it's nice using the uni stuff, especially the soldering irons. As you can probably tell by now, I'm going to probably mention work an awful lot because it's a big part of my life now, and I'm no complaints. It's absolutely brilliant to be there and actually hopefully be useful. If Matt's still on the call, he'll stream. He'll chime in, tell me if I'm useful or not. So the other day though, just mine went blank, and I'm in front of like 20, 25, 30 students. I can't think of what I'm saying anymore. Just, oh no, you know. But they are actually, some of them, no, not some of them, all of them, very, very interesting people as students. They've got, very, very bright, and especially the sort of the engineering projects they want to do themselves, are really exciting to hear. And it is definitely something that, I hope I can help in, them achieving with their time at the uni and what they decide to go on and do afterwards, I mean, a lot of us, we were all there once, one point in our lives. Tell you what, the one thing I should do, I shouldn't admit this really, when we're soldering, we have these like suction type vent machines that you can like put a hose just roughly where you're working, and it sucks all the vapors and smog and stuff in the soldering iron. And I didn't even realize we had them to begin with, because I've never had anything like that here, and I should have, because obviously you need to be abiding by a higher standard of health and safety, especially when you're in an environment like that. And I wasn't, and I haven't been, and I should do, and I'm bad person, bad habit. Need to make sure I do that properly in the future. And I was soldering a lot of units up. I mentioned at the start of the stream I was doing some work building some new test rig units for academic study, and also decommissioning old ones. And yeah, I've been on it for like 5 days as a project, and basically I kind of filled. Well, I don't think I did, but apparently the workshop got sort of filled with smog because I wasn't using the extractors, which apparently I should have been. So whoops. I shall attempt to do that next time. Also, it's about setting an example for the students, because students come in there to solder things up and do their own projects, and not just the undergrads. We have the masters there as well. So it is kind of important to set a good example for obvious reasons. I'm just thinking, actually, let's get a multimeter on that. Right, continuity, because it's just the problem we had last time, which was just, I made a right mess. That's fine. Green is good. blue. To be honest with you, although it looks an absolute mess, it is coming back okay. So I don't know if it's just the voltage issue. It's why it's getting intermittent faults, possibly. Yeah, I don't know. Let's try booting that again. Just see what it does. Yeah, it's fine. Don't know then. Turn the soldering iron off for the minute. Yeah, I don't know. It's an interesting one because that's now working. Well, I'm here. Did I ever show you the if I can remember the file name? Oh, but by the way, that's the other thing it doesn't work. So if you should, oops, taking the lock off. You should be able to go files, and that in theory should give you a list of all the files on the system, so you actually know what is on your SD card without needing to take it off and look on another machine or write it all down. And as you can see, it doesn't work for some strange reason. You just get a list of complete gobbledygook. So yeah, that's another bug. It's still there. So if you run the current version of Project Rio, it still does that at the moment at time of live streaming / recording. And I will endeavour to try and figure out what exactly has gone wrong there and how to actually fix that, because I honestly don't know at the moment, and that's the honest truth. So yeah, it's just annoying, really, really annoying when that happens. Right, so what was I've lost my train of thought. I got sidetracked with that, and yeah, but the SD is working. Oh, that's right. Okay, so I'm going to refer to the notebook. By the way, if you haven't seen this, not that it's really worth presenting because it is terribly written, but I've got just this supermarket notebook, and inside I've got basically all the plans and what I've done so far, just so I can remember kind of where we are with the project, because it can be some time between me working on this, and if I'm away from it and doing something else, you forget what exactly is happening or going on. So that said, let's go try this then. So if we go, I think it's grey. I don't think grey is about right, but grey. Oops, grey BG. No, hang on, I need to load it. Load. Grey BG dot bass. Just make sure we can list the program. There it is. Let's just try running it. There we go. A little bit of an error at the end. Is that not like that? Why is that not like that at the end? Interesting. Very interesting. Let's try run that again. Okay. Slight error, which I don't remember. But yeah, basically this is what I'm sort of thinking the boot screen for the system might actually look like. So instead of the blue, we may actually boot up in a kernel that looks a little bit like this. And this would be the kind of color scheme for what would be Rio OS. Now, this, well, I don't know how well this will work, but let's try it. So if I now chain, this is where we crashed the whole system. We're pushing it too hard, but let's just see if this works. So if I now chain and I go joycur.bass. Oh, no, it's joycur1.bass. You see another error in your backspace and it keeps shunting the line down. Okay, that sort of didn't work, but it kept the color scheme. But anyway, yeah, so I haven't actually plugged a joystick in, but basically I could see us working on this kind of desktop type color scheme, and then you have the cursor that can move around and click on things. Obviously, it needs to be a bit more refined than what you're seeing at the moment. If I plug the joystick back in, we should be able to do that live. Actually, we don't need to sort of shut down and power the machine. We can just be able to plug that in. Come on, it's not that difficult to put a joystick in. There we go. Yeah, which, you know, works. Not particularly legible. I'll have to sort out the colour scheme, obviously, but you kind of get the idea of how that would actually work. Let's just CLS, and let's load that back in again. So load grey bg.pass. There we go. Yeah, so you kind of get the idea. Don't know why that's crashing on the end. What's that not happy about? That's interesting. Yeah, for some reason it's all of a sudden decided it doesn't like these hashtag commands I've been putting in. It's basically, you should be able to call up the version number. That was working. Now it's not working, which is very interesting. Well, actually, I know why it's not working, because I spelt it wrong. So we changed it. If we go there, yeah, that does work. Hang on. So if we go 68, instead of VIR, we need to go hash VER. There we go. That works. That's more what I intended it to look like. So you load up the basic kernel at the top of the screen, and it actually reads back the version number for a custom statement in the bottom of the screen. So that's kind of how I was thinking it might sort of look and feel as we progress and develop basically the what will become Rio Basic and the Rio OS visual GUI kernel for the system. So this is all stuff I've got planned. A lot of it's been sitting around for a while, and actually the code needs updating because the kernel has changed. But yeah, so that's all stuff we've got sort of coming up here. I hate to say this, but I kind of think we've come to a bit of a conclusion tonight. Do you know why? It's because I was early. I was on time, so I'm not flustered all over the place. Yeah, I don't honestly think there's much more to discuss tonight, really. Yeah, that's not great. Does anybody want to chime in with anything? Help me out here. The chat went quiet some time ago. Yeah. Oh, we could just sort of sit here and I could drink tea for the next hour. But nah, it's all good. I do have to say, fundamentally, I'm really enjoying doing this project actually, and it's just nice to kind of. I know I say this nearly every time we live stream, but it's nice to live stream. It's nice to be here, and it's it's good just to share this project and the fact that. Because I was thinking about this, there has been some comments, and I've talked about this before, where people are sort of trying to compare Project Rio and what I'm doing to the 8-bit guys, Commander X16, and there's that Argon or Aragon Light 8-bit Z80 BBC Basic thing from Europe. And as I keep saying all the time, we go down this road, is Project Rio is about the build. And it's a fun project. I'm enjoying building my own computer and sharing it with you. And for those of you that kind of, want to throw a little bit of money my way, it's yeah, it's great, and I really appreciate the support, and it just allows you to build something as a hobbyist engineer on your your workbench or your kitchen table. So I don't at the moment see a point in which I want to do this as an actual commercial product. I think we may get to a point of maybe a nice PCB. We'll probably carry on to use the ITX cases we have been. But I honestly think it's going to get to the point of a few pounds, a few dollars on Patreon or whatever my way. Send you the files and you go and make the bits yourselves, or get companies like PCBWay or whoever you use to manufacture boards, source all the parts yourself, build your own system and have fun building your own system. And that's what it's about. I don't see a point at which I would be making kits and selling things, because I don't honestly have the time, and I've been there and I've done that, and I'd far rather do it a damn sight cheaper, or if free if possible, and just sort of let you source the parts yourselves, because you could do it, as I say every time, damn sight cheaper than anything I could possibly sell you. Saying that, I might make up 5 of these kind of things, once we got it sorted as a limited edition, and sort of take it from there. People really, honest to God, wanted to buy one from me. I might do like 5 or something, and see if people want to buy them. But they're not going to be Commander X16 expensive, but they're going to cost a little bit, because I can't make them commercially viable. You know what I mean? So that's kind of my thinking. So that's kind of where I think Project Rio has its place in amongst all the other high profile, big budget, or huge marketing campaign type hobby projects. This has its place, very much like how the Kim one I showed you, basically. And that was just off the shelf Gerber files and code you download, and you just build it yourself. And I think that's kind of what I want to do with the Project Rio project. I've just noticed in chat, Andrew D, if you think morning in New Zealand is strange, we are going towards summer. Yes. Oh, right. Yeah. Don't get me going with the winter. So we had the first. I'm going to say the first frost of the year. That's not quite right, because obviously we had snow in February, but of this season cycle, so the first of the autumn and the beginning is the winter again. We had the first frost yesterday. So it's for me in the evening. It was trying to get the chickens. Chickens still won't roost properly. Most of them, the flock gets the idea. Oh yeah, we're going to go in the hen house because that's the safe place to go. And if you get 11 chickens together in a wooden box, effectively, they'll actually keep themselves very, very warm overnight. And they've got straw and sawdust and stuff in there. But basically, got just 1 or 2 others that just will not. They'll just sit there, and I'm going to sit here all night and freeze. It's like, no, you're not. So got all the poultry away. They like they want to be up at sort of 5 in the morning when it's still dark. It's like, I'll come and get you up 6:30, 7 o'clock, whenever, and you can go out then. But yeah, so but yeah, it was a bit cold. I don't know what it's going to do tonight. It might not freeze tonight, but we did have like the first ground frost of April, of autumn. Look, you all know what I'm saying. I know what I'm saying. This is what I mean about being tired, and why I've been doing this at work in front of all the students, and trying to. Yes, I'm a clever person. I know nothing. I've forgotten everything I was going to tell you. Yeah. Well, as I said, Andrew, amazing for joining us. I remember. Well, I don't remember your username, but I remember you being the one from New Zealand. So yeah, that's fantastic for joining us on the other side of the world. It also explains why I have a couple of friends and colleagues in Australia that when we were doing the live stream and we were getting up to midnight, we'd just gone past midnight GMT here in the UK, and he was there and he sort of popped in on a live stream, and I was thinking, aren't you like hours ahead? And of course he was, because he's gone right around the other side, and it was like into the morning where they were, and we were just sort of finishing up. So that kind of, it makes sense, time zones and what have you. But yeah, But being based in the UK, everything we do here obviously is tied to, well, is now tied to Greenwich Mean Time, GMT 00. It was, we were +1 up until quite recently with British summertime, where we, time shift. And of course, most parts everywhere in the world seem to time shift differently for the summer and winter ratio. So it just makes a complete havoc of trying to like line time up, especially with North America, which is behind us, or the likes of Australia, New Zealand, or in my case, China. I do a lot of work, as you probably know, with the sponsors with China. And it's just remembering if Beijing is 8 hours or 9 hours ahead of us, depending on, or is it 7, depending on where we are with British summertime versus, standard Greenwich Mean Time, which we are now on. So, yeah. Well, there we are. That was an interesting chat. So, things to do, stuff for Christmas, the projects for Christmas. So I don't want to do a tiny basic. I keep calling it tiny basic. Project Rio build video part 4 won't be in December. Basically, the plan is that I want to look at a couple of Nintendo video game systems. That was from last year that we didn't do. We probably are going to be doing a Banana Pie review as well, because that will be a sponsored content we'll be doing on the channel. I'm going to move. Last year I did the video on Farm Simulator, the video game, because one of the DLC maps, Attican Park, is a map of a real place. It's literally 3 minutes drive up the road from where I am here. So it's quite cool to have literally your backyard as a rural area on a playable map on Farm Sim. And I did a whole video for Christmas last year here on the channel. It's still there now. Didn't do particularly well. So the plan is I'm going to take that off the main Wi-Fi ship channel, this channel you're watching now, and it's going to go onto channel 2. So channel 2 has been horrendously neglected. It's about nearly 80 days since the last bit of content went on channel 2, so I must do some more channel 2 content. The plan for channel 2 is, as well as sort of taking regurgitated uploads from the main Wi-Fi sheep, I want to do some model train stuff, which I've been meaning to do. We've got digital stuff, which I showed you here, the digital sound train stuff from Hornby, model railways, things like that. I really want to get around to doing some model train stuff again, and channel 2 is the perfect place to do that. And I have so many mini, engineering, electronics, model railway projects to do. I don't want to film that here on the main channel. We've touched on a few bits before, but I want to do that kind of exclusively on channel 2, as it's not computers in the sense of what we do here, although the crossover is obviously huge. So I'm hoping, fingers crossed, to try and get a video, at least one train type video on channel 2 over the Christmas period. So that's kind of the plan. Andrew just saying, at Christmas you see plastic snowmen, etc. and stuff. I've heard that. I heard that from who was it in Australia? You said they do the whole westernized winter Christmas type thing in Australia and New Zealand, despite the fact that's the height of the summer. Yeah, I have actually heard that. Yeah, it's a bit mad, but it's the kind of commercial Americanization, isn't it, of Christmas, really, that we all associate snow and winter and cold with Christmas, where of course, Australia, New Zealand, it's the height of the summer. I do actually remember we've had it happen more than once. We've actually physically had a white Christmas here in Shropshire. It's either snowed the day before and it's still been on the ground for Christmas Day, or we've actually had it where it has snowed and laid on Christmas Day. That has happened in recent times. In the last 15 years, happened at least once or twice. So I'm not expecting any snow. Well, you never know that. It's getting cold out there, so we could have snow before Christmas. Definitely January, February. We probably will have some snow again. Do you remember last year when I was doing that shoot for the Pixel Addicts magazine with the BBC Micro out on my patio? And I was trying to get, because our patio is a complete wreck, and it looks, that kind of redundant, abandoned concrete kind of look that worked perfectly for the grotty, abandoned computer. And you might remember in that video, I was rushing to get it done because literally photographed it all, got it back in the house. And then we actually had a snowstorm come through literally hours later. And you might remember the end of that video, I got the camcorder just out the back window and it was just pouring down with snow and laying. So yeah, it does happen, and it can affect work. And I guess now I commute up to Edgemond, which is sort of Telford, so it's still Shropshire, but it's about a 40-minute drive or commute from where I am. But that could be interesting if we get the bad snowstorms, because I won't be going the back way on the hills and the country lanes. Put it that way, I'll have to go to sort of through Telford on the motorway, try and skirt around. So that might be interesting, trying to get into work. But I'll still try my best though. Yeah, I honestly think, I know we're going to be a little bit shorter stream tonight, but we are coming up to 10 o'clock. It's 9:55 GMT here in the UK. I think, in all honesty, I'm going to call it a night, because we've reached a natural conclusion. What I will say is, while I've been nattering away, it's been sitting there quite happily running without any major issues. Occasionally you leave it to do something, it just glitches, which is really, really annoying. But that looks okay at the moment. So fingers crossed, it might be all right. Yeah, so if you haven't done so already, please do consider liking and subscribing. Don't forget our members as well. You can join us and support me and the channel on Patreon. It's patreon.com/Wi-Fi Sheep. Alternatively, there is the YouTube channel members. If you'd like to become a channel member, you can. Starts at 99 pence, goes all the way up to £2.99. That's British pound sterling. Those prices will be converted into your local currency. If they can't be converted, it will be in US dollars. So it'll be the equivalent in US dollars. And prices are obviously subject to availability and change. And you can do that just by clicking the join button, which should be somewhere underneath the video you're watching right now. So, as mentioned, I will be back next week, all being well. That's the plan. So I'll be back. Gertmon's just joined. I'm Justin, been out with family. Hope tonight went well. Yeah, tonight's been fine. Thanks for joining us, Gertmon. Yeah, actually, a few of the regulars have all said they're actually out tonight. Yeah, no, it's been fine. We're kind of getting there. You'll have to watch this back, because I'm about to sign off. But yeah, it's been good tonight. We've kind of got stuff working. So as I said, next week I am going to be in North Yorkshire. I plan to still be live at 8. I don't know how long it'll be. I hopefully will have a little bit more software and programming to look at actually on the system. I won't have any other tools or any other gumph with me. So we'll see how long that stream runs. It may only run for an hour and a half or so. But yeah, I intend to be live next week from 8, but it will be at a different location up in North Yorkshire, as I'm visiting family just before Christmas. Yeah, so that is just about it for me. So if you haven't done so already, please do consider liking and subscribing to us here on Wi-Fi Sheep. As I've just said, I'll be back same time, 8 o'clock GMT next Saturday, which is December the 2nd, 2023. Until then, thank you all so much for your company this evening, and I hope we'll do this all again real soon. From me, a very good night.